Take 5 minutes before I start. So if you are watching this on YouTube, just want to fast forward it a little bit. All right, everyone, signing in a few minutes early here to make sure that I get in. Hope you're all doing well. Hope that you're having a great day 3. I will be very curious to hear how it's going. And before we officially start, we've got 4 minutes until we officially start. I'll just go ahead and talk a bit about the challenge for anyone that is joining us from YouTube and is not in the challenge. So I'm doing a full week challenge here. It's on how to paint an abstract landscape, and we're doing that landscape there. In fact, I'll put that behind me. And today's day 3 of our lesson. Whoops. There we go. All right, so today is our 3rd and final Q&A, and so ask me any burning questions you have about painting, about the challenge, anything about acrylic, abstraction, whatever it is that you want. And I'm gonna just wait a few more minutes. I hate to start early because it's supposed to start at 3. So for now, go ahead and put in the comments, how is day 3 going? How did you like doing the scumbling and those final details? Do you feel like it's balanced? Is it working? Go ahead and put that in the comments. Diana had a great day and is enjoying the challenge. I am so glad to hear that. Awesome. Anyone else? Oh, Krista says she loves the challenge. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That's awesome. It is fun to be in a challenge like this because it sort of like motivates you, right? And it just kind of gets you excited and what's going to come tomorrow. And I actually like doing these kind of challenges too. So, all right, we've got 2 more minutes to kill here before I start. Anyone on YouTube, I'm just going to say it again before I officially start. If you're on YouTube, and you're not in my challenge, this is a Q&A for people that are in my challenge, and it's an abstract landscape challenge. You're welcome to stay and, ask questions if you'd like. If you'd like to join the challenge, I've got a link in the description box just below this video, just so you know. Okay, so enjoying the motivation to paint. Awesome. Day 3 was great. I spent quite a bit of time on it. Love the challenge. I haven't painted this much in a year. Oh, wow. Well, I'm really glad that you're painting so much. I realized I need to practice more and get looser. Getting loose is a tough one. Finished day 2. I like one I like better than the other. I found myself fussing and abruptly quit for fear of doing something I didn't like. I do that sometimes too, Bree. I think it's a good idea to stop sometimes when you're ahead of the game. Okay, let's see. All right. Anything else? I love working with the palette knife. Vivian, isn't it great? It really loosens you up, right? And it keeps, I just love it so much. You just can't do what you can do with the palette knife. And I love to make paint really thick and just get that scumbling technique. So I am also a very big fan. Learning so much on how to work colors together. Oh, good. I'm glad. And I hope also with how to create translucency, like that green that we did yesterday and a bit today, we were going really thin with that layer so that we could see through it. And really it makes, I think things look a lot better when we have that mystery. Okay. Well, thank you for saying you love my sweater. Okay. All right. Well, let's get in. It's 3 o'clock, everybody. I'm going to jump into these questions. All right. So what do we have today? So the first one, what are some good ways to add life to any painting? I feel like I answered that the other day, but that's okay. Or maybe I answered it like on the computer. I think life is added to a painting by gesture marks, fast movements. So like if you think about the way you're moving your hand, if I'm painting like this, slowly, carefully, that is more precise. Not that it has less life, but think about me doing a brush stroke like that. It shows the movement, it shows the energy. It's a little bit more active. So I think that it's how you move your brush or move your palette knife or move your fingers. And I think color, life is color, right? If you just think about, what life is, green and all these beautiful colors that we have. And so I think that's the other thing to bring life to your painting. Okay, do you use acrylic inks? I have used them before and not a whole lot. I just, I don't know, I haven't loved them for whatever reason. They're beautiful. I love how they look. I just, I feel like they're a little bit more dainty and like you can only use a little bit and like you work on paper, and I just love working on canvas. I like working big. I like throwing a bunch of paint in there. I like throwing texture in there. So, but I love them. And there are times when I prefer to do watercolor or, I would do ink too, but watercolor, just because you can travel with it so easily and, it's just not toxic and it won't ruin your clothes and all that kind of stuff. Do you use mop brushes to blend? I mean, I don't have any official mop brushes. I have brushes that have a little bit more of a sort of finer point on it. So I don't know, but I will use the edge of my hard bristle Escoda brush that someone asked me about yesterday. And I actually put that in the chat box, not in the chat box, sorry. Yesterday in the Facebook group, I pinned it to the top, I put a link, but it looks like Jerry's Artorama sells those brushes, okay? You can get them from Amazon too, but Jerry's Artorama sells those wonderful Escoda natural bristle brushes. Okay, how long do we keep access to the meditations? 6 viewings each for spaced repetition helps. That's interesting. I'd like to hear more about that. So like watching the meditation 6 times probably helps you like internalize it, right? The meditations will be available for the whole 30 days. So just like the course is available for 30 days, the meditations will also be available there as well. And also these recordings of the Q&As will be there if by some chance you wanted to revisit it. Is there a way to watch the replay of lessons? Where do we find that? Yeah, so in the course platform, when you sign into the course, okay, you should be able to see all the lessons at this point because they've all been released. So if for some reason it's not showing you previous lessons, and I had a few people expressing that that's been happening, which is very odd because I've never had that be an issue with any other course. But there's always glitches with technology, right? So here's what we found that's worked is if you sign out and sign back in again, sometimes you will see the past courses, past lessons from this challenge. Or sometimes if you change your browser, people are having more success with Firefox and Google Chrome. So that might be something else to try. But once you purchase, any of my courses, once the lesson's released, you have that and you can access it anytime. So, and you'll be able to access, again, the challenge lessons for 30 days, unless you sign up live tomorrow or Friday. When I say live, like in person, well, not in person, live like you are right now, then you'll get lifetime access. So, but you have to stay to the Q&A part because the teacher in me wants to really encourage you all to be there. Okay, so is there a way to watch, oh yeah, I already did that, sorry. Is there a benefit of breaking the painting up over several days aside from drying time, as opposed to doing too much in a day, overworking? Would you suggest breaking it up again if we repeat the exercise? Well, there's a few reasons why I broke this up. Yes, one is the practical reason of just letting it dry. The second one is not everybody has like hours and hours to paint. Some people just have 30 minutes or an hour because they're really busy. So I do the challenge in small chunks for that reason as well. And to let things breathe and sit. And so yes, you don't overwork it too much. But if you're going to do this again, you don't have to sort of do day by day like that. Because you've already done it, you have experience with it, you know where it's going, then I would go ahead and just do it, when you want to. Just make sure, because you're not going to get this sort of translucency, you have to make sure you blow dry those layers, or like they're really dry before you put on the next one. Okay, so what is your preference regarding signing your art, front, back, and what do you use? I always use an archival black marker. So Pigma, is that what it's called? Sakura makes one. and I think it's called a pigment pen or something like that. And just make sure it says archival. And what that means is that you're not going to have acid leach out of that marker and ruin the painting. So I do that. I sign on the back right, and I don't sign on the front. There's a few paintings where I would maybe sign on the front, but a lot of times I feel like it's distracting. Like if I were to sign this painting behind me, which I know you can't, YouTube can see all the way, but I know the rest of you can't. I just feel like that would detract. There's a lot of quiet in this painting. And if I throw my signature in there, it just detracts a little bit, but it's your preference. Okay. It's totally your preference. Just make sure you use I think an acrylic marker is also a great idea. Like the ones that I can't think of the name. What acrylic markers are really awesome. I mean, Liquitex Blick makes them, but there's another brand too that I like. So that would also work. Are we allowed to sell our creations? 100%. Yes, 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 yes. Sell it. It's your painting. You made it. You know, I mean, can't sell my creation, right? But none of your paintings look just like mine, right? So absolutely. I was wondering if about darks and light in my painting. When I look at it in black and white on my phone, I see a lot of gray areas. Should I be darkening more areas, adding more white? Or is it that one of those things that if you know the rules, you can break them? Well, Abby, I'd like to see your painting because I would like to just see what it is that's going on there. I mean, I haven't done that with this painting, but I think having enough contrast in value is really helpful because it excites us more. It's like, you know, when infants, you're supposed to buy like, you know, when small babies, you buy really contrasty toys like black and white and like bright colors because they're really attracted to that contrast. So I think contrast is good. So you might add a few more darks and lights. Because the thing is, yes, there's this idea of you can break the rules. Like Picasso said, learn the rules and then break them like an artist, right? So I agree with that, but it doesn't mean that I should not have a balanced piece that is really, you know, beautiful. Like I think the breaking the rules part for me might be like, instead of doing a 1/3 focal point, you know, you go a lot higher than that. For example, you really push your composition or you push the types of materials you use or the tools that you use. That for me is what I would do. So what is your process when starting a painting, including choosing a theme? I'll actually talk more about this in our live class, like how we can choose an idea for our painting. For me, unless I'm working on a series for a show, like the piece behind me was part of a show and it was part of my Tumbleweed Love Affair series. Unless I'm doing something like that, I just go in and I usually just intuitively flow. And I just go and see what emerges. And what usually emerges for me naturally is abstract landscape, abstract floral, or non-representational. It's just the way that things go for me. So that just works well for me. And I tend to use, you know, a lot of the same colors, sometimes the same color, you know, themes, because that's just what I'm attracted to. So, you know, that's a good thing. We want to have consistent, you know, like colors amongst our different works, especially when we're starting to get to the more serious place. But for now, I think if you're a beginner, you just get in there and you paint when you can and you do what you want. And then you start to figure out what interests you the most. What is your strength? In fact, I'm going to announce probably in about a month or so my next challenge, which is for more advanced artists who are trying to figure out their style. So stay on my email list if you want to, you know, hear about that. Okay, what is your process when I just do that. Do you have a preferred brand of gesso? I definitely like to use a good professional quality. There is a bit of a difference there. Like, for example, I bought Artist Loft once for my classes, like my in-person classes, and it's terrible. You need like 3 or 4 layers. I love the Liquitex gesso because it squeezes out, like it's in a bottle you can squeeze, so I can just squeeze it on my canvas and just go to town. Golden also is great, but I don't have any other suggestions besides those. Do you have any suggestions for books on color? Let's see. Well, the only book that I got many years ago is now out of print. I suggest my course, which I'll tell you about tomorrow. But other books on color theory, you know, it's been a very long time. No, I mean, I used Stephen Quiller's book, and he does watercolor mostly, but it's a really good book on color if you can get it. Stephen Quiller, and he's got his own color wheel and everything. That's the only color book I've bought, because when I learned color theory, it was in college and it was a bunch of handouts and stuff. They didn't give us, a book to go with it. So, an abstract landscape, do the shadows and light matter? What are the rules? Are the rules broader? So an abstract landscape, I often do not think too much about shadows. I don't usually worry about it, and I don't even really worry about the light source. And, I have been selling my work since 2008. Not to say, just saying that, like, even though I don't follow those rules, I still sell my work. I still make work that I think people, are attracted to. So it's up to you. If you want to go by the rules and do your shadows correctly and your light source correctly, then you should do that, if that feels better to you. But I honestly don't think about it too much. I really don't. But they are broader. Someone else had mentioned how the horizon line here, is dark, right? And how in landscape painting, it should be light. And for me, when it's late in the day, like sunset, usually it's not this dark. Usually it's more of a gray. But I worry about what's going to look good in this painting and not what it should be like in real life, because then I get too much into my left brain. So I stay in my right brain, I stay loose and flowy, and I just do what feels like it looks good together. But I've also studied, advanced and introductory drawing and figure painting and abstract painting and oil painting. I've studied a lot of things, I'm master's in art education. So like all those rules I feel are like in here, right? And so when I'm painting, they sort of like, get translated into what I paint. So if you don't know the rules as much, in terms of color, composition, balance, all these things, then you might want to stick to the rules a bit more. So like, that probably didn't really make much sense. So in other words, like if you don't know the rules about how to create depth and drama and interest and how to create a really strong abstract, that's what I mean is a strong abstract, then perhaps you do follow the rules a bit more. What's the difference between a wash and a glaze? Great question. A wash is water plus paint. So in watercolor, right? Or in acrylic or in gouache, when we add a lot of water to those different mediums, then we get a wash. In oil, it's going to be oil paint plus turpentine. And a glaze is when you add a medium to your acrylic paint. Now, I don't know in watercolor if you can do a glaze. Someone else who does watercolor can perhaps answer that for us. Or even in gouache. I don't even know. I mean, gouache is so opaque. Anyway, someone else could answer on that. With acrylic, you use a medium, such as like a gel medium, such as Golden's acrylic glazing liquid, or Liquitex has mediums as well. And you add I like to say if you're doing a true glaze, like mostly it's the medium and then it's a little bit of pigment. So like maybe it's 2/3 of the glaze and 1/3 pigment or less pigment. I have added some gouache. Well, I need to seal the piece when done with spray and wax. I don't use gouache professionally, so I have not varnished it. So if that's how you varnish gouache, then yes, I would do that. I imagine the spray is similar to acrylic, like this varnish sprays. The wax, I don't know if you have to do. Again, you'll have to ask someone else who knows more about gouache. I don't do it professionally. So, all right, let's go to more questions here. What would be the differences you would suggest if you were doing this challenge in watercolor? I think the biggest thing is you're not going to be able to get some of these thicker areas, but I think watercolor is perfect for the sky, for like this drip method, but I would say you have to let each layer really dry before you do the next layer. And in watercolor, it's the opposite of acrylic, so that we are, we want to preserve our light as much as possible with watercolor, because once you cover over with a dark, you can't get light back in very easily. So I would maybe even, not introduce like some of the darks until much later, like really stick with the lighter values. And then with watercolor, I don't know how you would get this texture. I mean, obviously you could use it thicker, but I'm afraid you would just waste the paint and defeat the purpose of the watercolor. So I would just get the watercolor and use a lot less water, and I would just dab with my brush to get the thicker, more opaque areas. Okay. Do you have any tips on storing paintings? I've accumulated so many since I started. I make sleeves out of parchment paper and stack side by side so they don't stick together. That's a great idea. So here's what I would suggest is, and I have a lot of paintings in my studio because I teach in-person classes. I'm demonstrating all the time. So I have a ton, and it kind of drives me nuts. I don't know about anyone else, but for me, when there's too much clutter around, like I feel like I can't function as well, and it makes me like, ugh, in my studio when I have like paintings all over the place. So what I would do is, if you don't love it, if it's not a fantastic painting, paint over it. Don't keep it. Now, if someone loves it, they're like, I love that so much, just give it to them, and that's what I would do. I would look at the paintings there and say which ones I'm willing to donate. Like my son, they have a big art auction because we're in Santa Fe, lots of art. And I'm going to donate, some paintings to that art auction, for example. So I would look at that and gifts, great gifts. And then the ones you really love that you still don't have room for because there's nowhere to hang them, I think your system makes a lot of sense. I usually stack them right next to each other. And the way galleries do it, they have like a bottom and then there's a piece of plywood, right? That's sort of in like spaced out where you can put a bunch in between. They do have some things on Amazon that you can buy, and it's like a painting storage rack or something. I don't even have room for the rack. I have to sort of figure out where to put stuff. So is it possible to paint an abstract without totally understanding abstract? Yes, 100%. I'm going to say yes by accident and not design. I'm having trouble understanding the concept and really want to learn more. Yeah, you can absolutely paint an abstract without understanding abstract, because what is abstraction? It's like this, it's expressing lines, shapes, feeling, an inner, we don't know what it is, but that we want to put on the canvas. So there's a bit of a mystery with abstraction, and everyone can do it. I think the thing is, can you do it really well? Because abstraction is harder to make it look good because you don't have an image that you're looking at showing you, okay, I'm done. With abstraction, you have to figure out when it's done and you have to make that call. Like I probably could have pushed this painting more. I know you can't see it all the way on Facebook, but I could have like maybe added more, but I liked the simplicity. I wanted it to be really calm. So, I'm not sure why I'm saying, oh yeah, like, cause we can overwork things, right? But we have to know when it's done. And for me, this felt finished, right? And so years of experience, being an art history major, all these things help me know this is done, So what was the drive, inspiration, color theory behind these colors for this painting? I will tell you at the live class. So I'm not gonna answer that right now because that's in the live class tomorrow and Friday. And I go through my slideshow, I show you the color wheel, I explain it. So I will tell you then. It's just not gonna it's not gonna hit you as hard when you're just hearing me talk about it. I want you to see like the color wheel. How long do you let a painting dry before you varnish? This being acrylic or other mediums besides oil. They say for acrylic to wait a week before you varnish and a week before you ship the painting out. So that's that. Okay. I think you spoke about a monthly membership yesterday. I'm making that up. Can you go over that again? Yes, and I will talk about that monthly membership tomorrow. But because at the end of class tomorrow and Friday, I will let you guys know about my online abstract painting course. So if you're interested in working with me more, but that will be at the end of the class tomorrow. So I'll tell you more about it. But basically, I've got an online course called Abstraction Beyond Boundaries. And when you sign up for that course, depending on which plan you buy, you get 3 months free access to my community. And so you have to be in Abstraction Beyond Boundaries to be in the community, because I don't want to run a community where I don't know what your experience is, where you're coming from. You haven't learned my lessons. You haven't learned the vocabulary that I'm using, and so to be in the membership, you have to do the course, which I'll tell you more about tomorrow. But when you purchase the course, you can purchase the course with or without the community. And the community, after the first initial 3 months, which is part of, sorry, this is like really confusing. You're going to hear more about tomorrow, but it's $29 a month to just be in my community. But again, you have to go through my Abstract Painting Beyond Boundaries course first, because I want everybody on the same page. People are beginner to intermediate, some people intermediate to like next level. And so we want to make sure everyone's gone through the lessons. All right. Which artist is your inspiration and who is your favorite artist? P.S. Listen to Art Holes. Oh, good, Diane. Oh, isn't it funny? I mean, Art Holes. Yeah. So that podcast I talked about yesterday, The guy is a bit crude. I'm just going to say there's some cursing and inappropriate stuff. So I should say that, but it is a great podcast if you want to learn about art history. But he's his own little character there. My inspiration artists. Okay, so I love Richard Diebenkorn. He was a painter out of the Bay Area in San Francisco and did a lot of cityscapes and abstracts. And I just love his work. I love Clifford Still. He's got a gallery in Denver, and he has very beautiful, abstract, simple pieces. I love Sean Delaney. She's a contemporary painter out of Brooklyn. So these are maybe not as super well-known artists. In the more famous artist category, I love Basquiat. I love his gesture. I like de Kooning's work a whole lot, and Frankenthaler, Helen Frankenthaler. So those are some of my abstract inspirations. Okay, how do you approach the challenge in oil painting? The only difference is you're using oil, you're using turpentine to get these thin drips, okay? So whenever I use water, you're using turpentine or whatever it might be. When we're going thick, you're just using thick paint. I don't think I used medium, I didn't use too much medium or anything. So you're gonna use thicker oil paint to create these marks. Actually, oil is just about the easiest medium to replicate this in. It should be, the problem with oil though is the dry time, right? So you're gonna be working slower is the only issue. So you're gonna have to let things dry. Like this blue has to dry before you do this. Actually, it really doesn't because it can mix in with that, but your base layer has to dry, and so, unless you really knock out your sky, right? Like if you knock out your sky in that first go, then that's fine. But the bottom, you're probably gonna have to be patient. Okay, my painting keeps getting dark and gloomy. How can I brighten it up? So I would just think about whatever bright colors you have in your painting and bring some more of that back in. So for this painting this one, the colors that I use, the turquoise is my bright color, and so is this yellow, right? Even this yellow. So I would just be bold, get my brush and go and just let it drip, or get the palette knife and I would sort of like do some scumbling on top. I would paint in some dark areas and flip your painting, maybe go like this all the way around. And sometimes that helps you see what needs to happen. And so that's what I would do, is just whatever light colors are in your piece, just bring them back in. Layer upon layer upon layer. Make a bunch of layers. Layers are what make the painting look beautiful and mysterious and have a lot of depth. Spray varnish versus liquid. I use spray when I'm just wanting to get it done, but you still want to put on the isolation coat. We talked about this in yesterday's Q&A a lot. Golden makes an isolation coat, and it's thinner than your acrylic glazing medium, and you put that on first and then spray to get a more even finish. I love spray for how fast it is. It is more expensive because I find that I just do so much and I think I just waste up the can. But I like right now Liquitex the best. They're a waterborne varnish. Okay, how can you learn about abstract art? I often feel like I'm randomly slapping paint on the surface and have no idea how to move towards a piece with artistic merit, or is it just personal preferences? Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so there's a few things I say. Besides the fact that I would say, come to the live class tomorrow. I'm not sure if you're in the challenge, Garfield, but come to the live class tomorrow, or you can check out my course. In the description at the bottom, I tell you about my course. But I am a teacher. I taught middle and high school for 18 years, and so you learn it by studying it. Honestly, the best teacher I had was at the community college here, and she taught us different art movements in art history that were abstract. We would paint a painting similar to a certain movement or with different prompts. Prompts are really good in abstract painting. I would study abstract painters. I would Google abstract painters, classic abstract painters, contemporary abstract painters, American abstract painters, Finnish abstract painters, whatever you want. I would look at abstract art. And what else? I have a lot of videos on my YouTube about abstract painting and abstract art in general, so you could check those out too. I don't have a book to recommend about abstract art. I should probably, again, I studied in college way back in the day, and they just didn't give us a text for it for whatever reason. So, can you use plexiglass for a palette instead of glass? Yes, you can. It's a little bit harder to clean. That's the only thing. And like I mentioned yesterday, if you don't want to make your own glass palette, you can buy one from Amazon. It's like this big and it's like $20, I think. I missed the artist name from Brooklyn. Can you mention her again? Yeah, Shawn, like Shawn. So her name is spelled Shawn, and the last name is Dulaney, Dulaney. I especially like her older, like 2008, 2009, because I show her work a lot to my students. Those older paintings I like better. Her newer work I don't love as much. So actually you will see Shawn Delaney's influence in the drip. She does a lot of drips. So you will, if you look her up, you're going to see the influence I have from her, actually. Okay. How often do you have challenges like these? I do these a couple times a year. This is the this is the third challenge. One was my abstract floral. So my abstract landscape is now, and I did my define your style challenge. And that one I said is, like I said, for art, people who are a little bit more serious about abstract art or art in general and have a lot of paintings and want to figure out a style. So, and then that'll be it for the year. So I have about 3. If I can squeeze in 4, I do 4. Yeah. So do you have any other inexpensive? Yeah, so that's about it for this. So for the year, I'll have another one probably in January, unless, like I said, you have experience, then you can do the Define Your Style challenge. Yeah, okay. So the Abstract Floral Challenge, no, you can't you have to sign up at the time. And so, the challenges, you have to sign up at the time, and they're only available for that window. And the only time you get longer access to the challenges, like some of them are actual, like the Abstract Floral Challenge is a lesson that's in my Abstraction Beyond Boundaries course. So you get to see like what one of the lessons is like. So because, after all, to be, right, to be very honest and upfront, like, my mission is to get more people to paint. That's my mission. I want people to paint, and I want good painting instruction to be affordable and approachable. And on the other hand, this is my profession. I have 2 kids. I have a house. This is my job, right? And so I can't just throw out all my stuff for free. I've got my YouTube channel, right? This challenge was $10. But, I really, really love working with students that are really serious about their art, really want to push it further, or just really want to learn abstraction. And that's why I do present my course to you all, to kind of get in there with me and learn more. So drips are my biggest fear. How do you know if you have it right? There's no right and wrong with it. And it just like, okay, so I don't know if you posted your piece in the group. There are a few people I posted on the drips. Some people's drips were just too perfect. They were like, exactly the same. Like, we want a little variety in the drips. I have big drips and small drips, right? I branched. Remember I talked about branching. You respray your drip and then you get this sort of technique. And this is like one drip, so it's thicker. So thick and thin, light and dark. Some of them are washed out more. I think ultimately you want to just have these beautiful details that don't overwhelm the piece. And I will talk more about this in the final class, about how I used what I call compelling details to really bring a piece home. I have basically a 7-step system. And so the 7-step system includes, compelling details, composition, color, and so on and so forth. Okay. Hello, Lynn from Tasmania. Good to have you. Okay. Any other questions? We're almost at the 30-minute mark here. Okay. Nam said, today I had a bad time at work and it really tested my resolve. Could you please do a backflip so I can recover from this bad day? No, but I would recommend going on YouTube and Google, like searching people doing backflips, or I like to look up funny dog and cat videos. That's my favorite. Will the abstract floral be offered again? I'm not sure. Probably next year. I might change my challenges a bit. But you can get that abstract floral lesson inside my course. So it is there as well. But most likely next year I'll do it again. This year I did it in January, but I like to change things up. So just stay on my email list and you'll find out about it. Okay, what else can I answer? Okay, if there are no more questions, and I don't see any more coming in, then we will, I see one coming in. Okay, there we go. Do you ever use isopropyl alcohol in the painting? Yes, I do. I love it. It's one of my one of my things that I do, and I have like a signature technique that I do with it. It's not a technique that I share publicly. It's in my course, but that's one I kind of hold a little close because it's just something, it's a signature thing that I sort of figured out. But I saw other people in the group, posting about using alcohol. So, you could ask them too. But that one I keep a little close. I found the horizon line a little sharp. Should I consider softening it? Sure. Yeah, if it looks harsh to you, you could soften it up, definitely. And then if you don't like it, just wipe it back. Try it out and wipe it back if it doesn't work. Okay, great. So just as a reminder, our final class is tomorrow at the same time, or you can attend Friday. For me, it's 10 a.m. East Coast, it's 12 noon. And it's going to be about an hour and 15 minutes because we will talk about, like how I applied my 7-step system to this painting. And I think from what I'm seeing in the Facebook group, a lot of you are making some really cool works. And when I looked at the questions, when you guys were answering the questions, many of you had never done abstraction before. So I have to tell you that I'm pretty impressed with what you guys have done. And I want you to understand why it is that you're able to achieve success, like never maybe ever painting abstractly before, or maybe never even painting before. So I want you to understand, there is a lot more to this than sort of meets the eye. And so that's what I'm going to go through tomorrow. The color theory behind it, the composition rules, why I had to do diagonals. I'm bringing in art history. I'm bringing in art vocabulary, elements and principles, design, and you're going to really understand a lot better. And this lesson is going to really stick with you longer if you get that theory behind the practice. It's not overwhelming. Don't be intimidated. It's very visual, and I break it down in a pretty easy way to understand. So I hope that you guys sign up. As you know, the link is on our homepage. It's in your emails. I'm sure we'll be sending you another reminder this evening. So so that's about it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and choose the winner for today. And so each day I'm choosing a winner that will get a prize, a gift certificate. And I'm going to go with Lynn Amore from Australia. So Lynn, just shoot me an email. Now I know you're in Australia. I don't know if Dick Blick delivers there. So you'll just have to let me know if another, art supply online company, I can get you a gift certificate for. So just shoot me an email at support@SantaFePaintingWorkshops.com and we'll get you that gift certificate. And that's it for now. So I'll just check and see if there's any last minute questions that came in, and I don't see any more. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Keep posting your piece in our the Facebook group. The Facebook group will shut down next week. So next Tuesday will be the last day. So get in there and post your things so that you can get some good feedback. All right, everybody, have a good rest of your day. You're very welcome. See you later. Bye.